Looking for real stories that lift you up? Welcome to Inspire and Impact, the podcast where purpose meets perseverance. This is where transformation begins and your story continues.
Welcome to the Inspire and Impact podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rosenstein. The show features real conversations with thought leaders, healers, entrepreneurs, and creatives to share journeys of growth, purpose, and making meaningful impact. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Sonja LD. Sonja, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I am a stress and anxiety management coach dealing with the overwhelm, finding your balance so you can really truly be able to enjoy and love your life again. And I have a background in massage therapy. So it's been 15 years of just helping people with stress.
What made you into helping people with stress? Can you maybe share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. The first is I was a full-time massage therapist, and really, if the past 5 years has taught us anything, it's to diversify, get into that online world, to just solely rely on the hands-on approach. We did have some troubles in the past couple of years. And when I was thinking about it, I realized I didn't know that while I was massaging people, giving all the advice to them, because I am a deep tissue massage therapist. So there's a lot more talking than the relaxation style. And all the advice I would help my massage clients with was called life coaching. So when I realized this, I realized I had been on the side life coaching for over 10 years and decided, like, hey, I should actually get into this and start actually making solid progress with people with the stress and anxiety. Oh,
Was there?
and then sorry.
All right.
I think the other part of that was because I actually have my own journey of being super overwhelmed, high stress, high anxiety. Like, it was so bad that when I would try and enjoy something, when I try and like actually relax and let go, that anxiety would just come crashing in on me. And it got to the point where I remember sitting on the edge of my bed one night. For any of your viewers that have high stress, high anxiety, they know that the zone out where you just kind of stare blankly at the wall. And so I was doing this one evening after work, and I realized even though I had a wonderful life, I didn't like it. I wasn't able to enjoy anything, and I didn't like my life. And I realized that's awful. And my God, I've got to make some changes. So that was kind of my kickoff point.
Wow, that's really interesting. So how do you really transition from doing massage therapy into coaching? Is it like self-learn? Or did you take classes in coaching and healing?
Yeah, it was definitely both. I took the classes, got the certifications, and learned like NLP techniques and stuff like that. But at the root core of it, it really was just taking from my experience, my life journey. And the reason that's really important to me is because everything I help, the tools I tell people to use, the tips, everything I help, it's all from what helped me. It's what in my moments of high anxiety, high stress, that helped bring me down, helped get rid of that overwhelm. So for all my Canadian viewers out there, I always like to say I'm like Canadian Tire. My tools are tried and true. They've been tested.
So what was the biggest personal obstacles that you really had to overcome that shaped how you do your coaching and who you are today?
Well, for myself, the in getting my business started, it was actually the online world. As a massage therapist and from that stress and anxiety point of view, I would tell my clients, get off social media, unplug. Doom scrolling is the worst thing you can do. It's just all stress. You'll get sucked in the vortex. Like, stop it. So I personally had actually not been on my Facebook in about 7 years. And then, of course, this is for the most part getting into that online portion, getting global out there. That was a huge obstacle because at that point, I basically lost touch with all social media, everything. Facebook was the only account I had, and I didn't even know it well anymore. So that was definitely huge. And then the biggest obstacle, actually, when I think about my journey with the stress and anxiety, the biggest obstacle for me personally coming out of that was probably I had my boyfriend to help me. He really is a natural born coach, but doing it myself, trying to figure it all out, it was kind of like trying to climb out of mud, to be honest, and trying to sift through, okay, I feel completely overwhelmed. I feel out of control. What can I do to get out of this hole? And not having someone to really help me in that journey, it was a lot longer than I feel it should have taken me to get there, but all part of the learning.
So did you actually go like cold turkey with social media? Like you stop it completely?
Pretty much. I found that it was just a lot of negative. Everything on the social was really, really negative, and I just got tired of the complaining. And I am from Cardiff, Alberta, which is close to St. Albert, which is right beside Edmonton for people who really don't know. And there's a thing called the Morinville Rant and Rave. And that's what people were obsessed with. It was like some sort of Hollywood wives online, and it was this Facebook group. And oh my goodness. And it was just pure drama. I remember my esthetician being like, get a bottle of wine and go read it. And I'm like, that sounds toxic. Like, why? Just, I'm not a big drama person. I think it's one of the biggest invokers of stress. So I just kind of literally cold turkeyed it one day, never looked back. And, but I will say for people watching this that now that I'm pretty much full time socials, a few of them now, it's all about honing in your feed. I look for positive. I'm all about positivity and gratitude. So I X all the negative posts, I X the drama posts, and I obviously like anything positivity, anything gratitude. And now you can't even, I go on there and if I'm scrolling, you can't call it doom scrolling. It's almost like positivity scrolling. So it can be done. You can get rid of that nonsense. You just need to make the proper adjustment.
Obviously, you're on social media now. So how did you like you bound? Like, how did you go back going from cold turkey to like going back to like social media and say, oh, it's safe to go back on that? Like you're saying, it's all toxic and negative. So what made you decide to like go back to it? You know?
A big part of it was we actually moved countries. So I had to start the massage business over completely and get my name out there again. And so I had a lot of time on my hands. And I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this coaching online, I need to learn the social media world. And so I just dove back in again, took some courses, started following some coaches, got a coach, and it really, like I said, it's really about watching what you're actually taking in, making sure not to read those drama posts. And if people are just complaining or just lots of negativity, you just have to X them out. Maybe you snooze them, maybe you don't. Maybe you unfollow the people that are really negative, and you just need to really pay attention to what you're watching. It's kind of like if you're going to sit there and watch the news all day talking about climate change and disasters and all this horrible stuff, it's going to impact you. Or you can turn it on to something more pleasant and you can watch fun programs, or I don't know if you have kids, the cartoons or whatever. And the social media is the same. You need to choose what you're actually going to read, what you're looking at, what you invest your time and energy in, even though people are like, whatever, it's a post, who cares? It really does make a difference. We're kind of almost like toddlers in that way where we're still absorbing everything.
So what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about like stress and anxiety?
Oh, one of the big ones that just gets me is I've had a lot of people say, but everyone has anxiety. So isn't it just normal then? And I'm like, no, living with anxiety is not normal. we've kind of normalized it in our society. And I will say, not to offend people, but Western society is actually really, really toxic. We're born and raised to hustle, keep up with the Joneses. There's never enough money. We're not taught to be grateful for what we have. We're not taught to see the positives. It's always, what don't we have? What do we need to buy? How much more money do we need? It's all of this lack and negativity. So I think one of the biggest things is normalizing having lots of stress, normalizing this high anxiety, and just here's your meds and just deal with it every day, and thinking that's normal. It is not at all. So I know there's a lot of people out there that might not believe that, but if people, I there's nowhere I can say it better except I am living proof that you don't have to be in that toxic lifestyle. You don't have to have the anxiety to actually still earn the money and live a good life and all that. And when I got rid of my stress and anxiety, I was still massaging full time. I worked from home. I ran my own business. I paid my own taxes. I did all my bookkeeping. So I was doing all the things. It just requires the proper boundaries, the proper priorities, really getting that self-care in there. There might be some lifestyle adjustments, but again, like, it's about finding that balance, your right balance, that you can have it all. Because I really believe you can have it all, but you can't if you're sitting up in that stress, anxiety, overwhelm.
So is there like a particular technique or like particular adjustment you made to reduce your stress and anxiety? Or is it like you said, like you really have to, those are like many different factors, like you have to set boundaries and be more in control of your calendar and the way you.
They are all important in their own way for sure. You need all of it. It's kind of like baking a cake. You can't just leave out some ingredients and have a great cake in the end. You're gonna need to address all of it. But I think there's a couple things that you can really work on in the beginning that are gonna make a huge, huge difference. So one of the big things to understand is that, like, anxiety is worry with a little bit of fear. That's what anxiety is. It's an emotion. It's just an emotional reaction. Stress, again, is an emotional reaction. When we feel stressed, we almost feel a tightening. That's an emotion. So one of the big things is to start getting control over our emotions. I like to say respond versus reacting. And then you can really, if you can control your emotions, you can control that stress and anxiety. And one of the things I love, this is the one thing I still use to this day. It helps so much in all areas, is, can you fix it? That one little question changed my world. Now, my boyfriend asked me that one day. I was hucking a fit over something and I'm washing the floor. I'll never forget this. And I'm washing the floor and he comes up and he's like, "What is your problem? You're freaking out." So I go on about whatever it is and raging. And he's, "Can you fix that?" And I was so mad. I was like, "How dare you ask me that?" I couldn't believe he asked me such a stupid question. I got so mad. I actually didn't talk to him for 4 days, but it's because I knew he was right. He hit that little nail on the head. I was freaking out over something I couldn't change. I had no control over. I could affect it zero. There was nothing I could do about it. And I was putting all my energy, all my worry, everything into this silly thing I couldn't change. So you have to ask yourself, like, when you feel that anxiety, what is it? What is worrying you? What's causing it? Even the stress. What is stressing you out? Can you fix it? If the answer is no, you have to accept it, because literally, what else are you going to do? And then if you can fix it, easier said than done, but how? Problem solve only. The biggest thing to understand is worry doesn't solve anything. Freaking out doesn't solve anything. Like, all of these things we naturally do in our reactions, storming about the house, whatever it might be, that's not fixing anything. So what are we doing?
So why do you think so many people get stuck with like overwhelm and anxiety? And what do you like advise to be like the first step they take to get out of overwhelm?
I think that question, like the can you fix it question, that was my base point. That was my jump off point that really changed my life. He asked me that question many, many, many times after that, and until it really integrated into my subconscious that I could ask it myself. But a big thing is to realize that misery loves company. We all know this. We can all agree on this. Positivity is the same. It's like attracts. So when we're in that negative place, when we're in overwhelm, we're stressed, we're usually very unhappy. The most common emotion that goes along with overwhelm is anger. We're pretty much constantly irritated. We're sitting on a low simmer. And as my naturopath would say, because our buckets are full. We literally cannot handle anything else in life. We are overwhelmed. Like by definition, there's too much already. And so when one more thing tries to drop in that bucket, we lose it. And it doesn't matter if it's you ran out of eggs or the light is taking too long, or it doesn't matter what the drop is. It can be the silliest thing in the world, but it just throws us for a loop. But understanding when we sit in that negative, that anger, all of that, it loves company. So we actually find other negative stuff. We find other drama. We go and we start gossiping with our friends, feeding into it. And we actually subconsciously, like, will create fights and stuff. Or, you're sitting at the red light, you can't make it green. But all of a sudden, we'll get really mad about it. And we'll feed into that anger. We'll feed into our own negativity, kind of keeping it alive. And so it's really important to understand that we actually create more drama to keep us in that negative, in that overwhelm. When you learn how to survive in overwhelm, which that's what we do in especially Western society, it becomes the comfort zone. It becomes what we know. So understand it's the survival mechanism that we've learned. And again, it's what we know. So until we learn differently, change habits, change the patterns, recognizing that we like to keep ourselves there is a really, really good first step.
So, are there like daily practices people can start to practice like at home that to help them like manage the stress better?
And getting back to that question, can I fix it? I recommend my clients, like, especially at work, like if you work online, you have Post-it on the side of your screen. Maybe you put it on your bathroom wall, kind of put it everywhere. Can you fix this? So when you're having those freak out moments, when you're being angry or upset about something, can you fix this? And you're like, oh, okay, dang, I can't. All right. And then try and like self-talk yourself down from that high emotional state. The other thing is really the more you can introduce positivity and gratitude into your life, I like to think those two things are like anti-stress. If you're being grateful for something, you can't possibly be complaining or be negative at the same time. When you're finding the silver lining and being positive, you can't be negative, right? Like opposites. So whether it's in the morning, some people there's many different things to recommend, and it's about finding what feels right to you, because if you try and force it, you're never going to stick with it. So whether it's waking up and, three things I'm grateful for right now before I get out of bed and the day gets to me, maybe it's the end of the day. What are three things that I'm grateful for or that were positive today that I can think of? Maybe it's journaling. Writing and journaling is really powerful. It took me a really long time to get into it. And especially because when we're overwhelmed, I don't have time for that. So but I do highly recommend it. There are actually research studies that prove pen to paper is very mentally powerful and really helps integrate stuff with us. So even journaling out your emotions. This is what happened today. This is the problem, especially if it's something you got really upset about, journal it out. And then what's something positive that came from that? What's a lesson you learned? What's just something that helped you grow a little bit today out of that? And the more you can start integrating, finding the positives, being grateful, the less stress you're going to have. And it's kind of like you're starting that positive feedback loop.
Wow. So you're saying that journaling really works. I was wondering about that because some people always say, oh, journaling. I
Yeah,
mean,
there is, sorry.
I said, I'm not much of a writer. People don't like, writing a lot. Do you think like you still journal?
It's funny because pretty much everyone I know in the coaching world, in the positivity world, everybody journals except me. I still like, full disclosure, I do not journal every day. I don't know. It's not something I grew up with. It's a habit I'm trying to get into more, but I will brainstorm for me whenever I do, whether it's master classes or I take a course or I'm learning like any ideas, anything. I am a pencil and paper. I have 4 notebooks beside me right now of different things. I do not type stuff out. Generally speaking, everything's on paper, but the journaling, I'm more of a self-talker myself. I love self-talk. It just works really, really well for me. So I tend to self-talk as opposed to journal. But like I said, the research says journaling is so incredibly powerful. And I know the couple times that I have just kind of started randomly letting it flow, I've come up with some great ideas. So there's good stuff for it.
As a massage therapist, how do you think like stress and anxiety, impacts people's like bodies and even being that you probably worked on hundreds, if not thousands of people? Can you share a little bit about that? What do you see?
I would say probably 90% of all of my clients strictly stress in their bodies. Like my whole career just about is built on stress and anxiety. And I just had the odd random injury come in every once in a while. But neck and shoulder tension, this is all stress and anxiety because as soon as we get stressed, we kind of clench. And then when we have anxiety, worry, and fear, this is actually our fear zone. And when we get worried, we tend to turtle. Then this all gets super compressed. And for a lot of people, I don't know how many times, and I still see it on Facebook a ton. Oh, I have a tension migraine. Tension migraine is literally just knots in your neck or your shoulders causing you a headache. And literally a massage and easing the tension in your neck and shoulders will get rid of those. If you can get rid of the tension, you can get rid of your tension migraine. There's the real true, I call it the original migraine where they get the auras and the halos and they've existed forever. But tension migraines are new. They're stress induced 100% from trigger points in your neck and shoulders, causing the pain referral into your head. And you always tell, I know I have a trigger point in my upper neck. And if I have happened to irritate it one day for whatever reason, and all I have to do is push on it and boom, you just instantly feel and you're, oh, yep, that's what's causing it for sure. And then you can release that. Lots of low back. A lot of people, because we're on these devices all day and we're hunchy and our low backs. I even actually just massaged my neighbor the other day and he's, yeah, I have this knot in my shoulder blade. It's so painful, I can't get rid of it. And I was like, oh, is that your mouse hand? And he's, oh my God, is that what that's from? Absolutely. I've had clients that have switched their mouse to the other hand and they're not switched with them switching the mouse to the other hand. So that is also tried and proven that these devices, as beautiful as they are and as wonderful as they are to connect with people, cause us a lot of tension. And so this is where like stretching is so important. Yoga, even meditating that helps you like literally relax your muscles. And here's just a little fun fact. We apparently are a society of butt clenchers. Like the number of people's glutes, and glutes are our bums, they're a big muscle that they're so incredibly tight. And I have massaged when people would come in and they've never had their glutes worked on. I'm like, you need to have this done. Tight glutes actually pull our hips out of alignment, which cause a lot of low back issues, and they can cause even knee issues and stuff. So it's very important to address this. And I would massage their glute, release some stuff, and they'd be like, oh my God. And they'd literally say a good glute massage is life changing, which I find hilarious. But Yeah. And I ask people, I'm like, do you clench your bum a lot? And most people, because we're like hairstylists, we hear everything. They would admit, yeah, I do. I clench my butt when I'm feeling stressed, and I'm stressed like all the time.
But you're saying like if people do stretching such as like yoga or just daily stretching, that can counteract all that muscle tension, whether it's in your neck, shoulders, or back, or glutes. Or
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's kind of like if you're constantly shortening and having something tense all day, and you have, even if you're trying to like bend or warp a piece of wood or a piece of plastic, you have it in a position for a certain length of time, and eventually it just stays there. And we've had this, if you've ever had a book or a notebook that's gotten crunched in the back and you pull it out and it's in a permanent L. Our muscles are similar. If we have them in this shortened position over an extended period of time and we never re-lengthen them out, they learn to stay there. And then that becomes their new normal, like that comfort zone of the overwhelm. And then we have to work to kind of stretch them out and get them back to where they're supposed to be. So yeah, stretching, everyone should do this every day. The yoga, anything to kind of just elongate those muscles again and relieve some of that tension out of your body.
but do you think going to like yoga once every couple of weeks is enough, or you think like you have to do it like every week to really, balance your body out?
Yeah, I would say definitely every week. And then if there's one short, it's called the sun salutation. And it's kind of just like you get it into cobra, you come up and you stretch. There's a little downward dog. And I can't remember how many poses are in there, but it's 5 or 6. And you can do this for 5 minutes or 10 minutes super quickly. And I find if you have a couple poses you love, then if you can start incorporating them just every day in the morning before bed. I know something for backs that helped my boyfriend and I when we lived in Alberta. We actually replaced the floors of our bungalow by ourselves. We took out all the carpet and we put in hardwood. And I swear the only thing that saved my back is this yoga stretch where I can't remember the name of it, but you put your knees to one side and then you put your arm to the other and then you twist your spine. And it is, you just breathe working. So if your knees are over here, you're breathe working this shoulder down to the floor, and it twists your spine beautifully. And in the breaths, you're releasing your muscle. And that is a beautiful spinal stretch that you just feel the tension leaving you.
That's good to know. I'll make sure that I go to yoga more often. I don't think I was going enough. Because I do podcasting all the time. Like I'm in front of the computer a lot, and I probably don't do enough stretching.
Yeah, and especially I'm sure you find you have the bad head posture where we all tend to be a little more forward. And even again, all day long, almost all jobs have us rotating our shoulders inward. So we kind of have this hunchback by the time we're 60.
So I know you also have like a daily checklist you offer to like clients or potential clients. Can you walk us through your daily checklist, and how does it help people, regain control of their lives?
Yeah, so I I'll give a little background story about how I came up with this checklist because, again, when we're overwhelmed, like the definition of overwhelm is we know that there's not enough time to do everything we have to do. So we flounder, and I remember I would make schedules. Everyone recommends that you make and follow a schedule, but I would overpack my schedule all the time, just thinking, oh, but I can just squeeze it in there. And then I would subconsciously underestimate how long everything would take. And I'd overpack my schedule chronically. And then, of course, especially, I know women are worse for it. I'm not quite sure what level men do it, where we cut the self care first. Whatever, I don't have time. There's stuff that's got to get done. And so I came up with this checklist to make sure that you're actually getting everything you should be getting. And it really focuses on that, getting the self care, getting the top 3 priorities, because, sometimes we decide that there's 10 priorities in our day that we have to do. And really just moving you towards that balance that you need. to really start like calming everything down. And do you mind if I tell one more story about the priorities?
No, please.
Okay.
You
So
should.
I think that this is really important. When you're making your schedule and you're checking off, oh, I have top 3 priorities, check. Really make sure your priorities are like on point. I remember one day, who knows why, high stress, high overwhelm, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I decided that I needed to clean out my closet. Like all of a sudden, not being able to find whatever shirt I was looking for stressed me out so much that my stress created cleaning out my closet as a priority. This is something that we do to ourselves. And so I had it in my head all day long. I had to clean my closet. I just couldn't do anything. And I was so frustrated the whole day. I, did my massages. I did, worked everything I had to do. But the back of my mind was like, I got to clean out this closet. When am I going to clean out this closet? And I was so upset about it. And then I had good night's sleep, woke up, actually thought about, okay, what are we going to do today? I was like, why would I need to clean out my closet? Like, the world's not going to end if I don't clean my closet out and organize it. I'm like, that's not a priority at all. But in that moment, my stress had decided that this needed to be a priority. And that was something, again, keeping me in that overwhelm, keeping me, negativity loves the negativity. So understanding that we can create weird priorities from our stress. And another actual, I have one more story if you don't mind. Making sure that they really align with what your true intentions are. So I actually had a client and her she was trying to grow her business. She was a single mom and she couldn't get the traction in her business she really wanted. And her son always felt neglected. So she was just feeling like a failure in business and in life. And she really was struggling. I don't know what to do. I'm doing all the things, but nothing's happening. And she was just kind of at her wit's end. But what turned out was while she was at work, all she was thinking about was staying with her kid and being the neglectful mom and not doing this. And then when she was with her kid, all she could think about was not making money, not supporting her kid. And she was actually ignoring him. So even though she had the right priorities of trying to make this business for her son, she didn't have the priority of, actually focusing on the business and giving it that quality attention. And so she would divert more time to the business to try and make up for the son. But all the son saw was neglectful mom cares more about her business. But she was so concerned about her son that she wasn't able to focus on the business. So even having her priority where she kept driving more into the business, what her son saw was my mom cares more about business and money than she does me, but her world was her son. But it was the actions that were showing the picture to the son, even though her intention was to prioritize him. So it's these misguided priorities of making sure our actions align with our true priorities deep down. Because again, it's like that Christmas movie, Scrooge, or the absentee dad that works all day, comes home. Don't you realize I make all this for you guys? And they're like, no, you're never here. We realize nothing. It's making sure that, again, taking that minute. I know everyone, I don't have time, but these are really important things, and making sure your actions around that priority you're putting in your schedule actually align and show that it is an actual priority. So if your kid is your priority, don't schedule work and think that you're prioritizing your child. Schedule your child. And if you have to literally schedule, I'm spending this hour with my child, you can just put your kid in the schedule and put them in there. That shows the priority of that. So it's really recognizing what are your true priorities, what are the actions that reflect that priority, and then getting that in the schedule. Sorry, little long-winded there, but I feel like it's really, really important for people to understand that.
No, it does. It's great advice. I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, how can people, you're always talking about stress. How can people tell the difference between healthy stress, something that's toxic, like, the anxiety that's a little bit harmful to that?
I feel like because it's all emotions. So it's about having that stress, and emotions always are telling us something. So when the stress comes in and we're feeling that, there's something to take away from that. Okay, why am I feeling stressed? Okay, because I have this deadline. All right, so what do I need to do to meet that deadline? What are the actions I need to take? And I like to say it's bringing it back to facts. You feel the stress, okay, and then you figure out you take from that emotion, what is the learning I need to do? What is it telling me? What are the actions? And then you take the emotion out of it and you just get down to fact. An example I have is like paying bills. People, if you're low on money, people get so stressed out and they're like, "Oh, I can't check my bank account. Oh, pay this bill." And then we put all this energy into it. But a side note, if you're into any sort of law of manifesting, if you have that worry, that stress, that negative around money, around work, you're attracting more negative around money and around work. So it's self-sabotaging in that regard. But if we want to take the emotion out and deal in fact. Okay, fact, my bank account, it's just a number. This is what it is today, fact. Okay, what do I need to do? Maybe I need to make more money. Fact. How am I going to do that? Really stick it in actual, it's almost like disassociating a little bit and sticking it in facts, leaving the emotion at the door and paying the bill. Like whether you can or can't, it's a fact. Whether you prioritize one bill over another, these are just choices and facts. And worrying and stressing and attaching all these emotions doesn't just make money appear in your account. It doesn't make the bill get paid. So it's recognizing that these are just things that are like, oh, I'm stressed because I don't have the money. Okay, that's telling me in order for me to feel better and maybe have less stress in my life, I need to find a way to make more money. Okay, thank you, stress. Thank you, emotion, for telling me that. I need to problem solve this now. Leave the emotion at the door. All right. Does that make sense to how I explain that?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you speak very eloquently and you explain things really well. I like the fact that you always tie in the stories to, bring it home, so it makes it easy to understand.
Okay, good.
I mean, can you maybe share, like, since you said you work with so many clients, one of your, clients' transformational stories of how your coaching really made a difference?
Yeah, one of my favorites. Okay, I have two if you don't mind. So this one just happened fairly recently where we were just a quick 45-minute session and we dug into something. And at the end of the session, she said to me, "Oh my God, we made so much more progress today and went so like far deeper than I've done anything with my therapist in the past couple of years." And I was like, "Oh, so like how many years of therapy equals one session of me?" Okay, good. I feel like they're saving some time and money here. So I really do love that because all coaching, but especially, I take to heart is getting to the root of the problem to get rid of it for sure. So let's not waste time with superficial. Let's get in there and solve some problems. But the other one I love is she is the coach for other she coaches cleaning business owners, and she has this big conglomerate of a company, and she's doing so well. She's just the train, just always gaining speed. I just love watching her grow. And she told me that she knows she would have never got where she was in her business today if it wasn't for me helping her, because she was just so overwhelmed with everything. And again, when you're growing a business, especially, like there's so much to do, there's so much going on. There's always ebbs and flows of money. So you really need to be able to handle that and take that with a calm and, peaceful sense as opposed to just freaking out. And one of the biggest things for her was with this overwhelm, she actually was taking everything out on her husband. And she said she would just treat him like crap and she would feel so badly about it, but she didn't know how to fix it. And so that was one of the first things we worked on with her. And because her and her husband work together. So you can imagine how toxic that could become if you don't resolve treating him like crap day after day after day. And so, yeah, we got to the heart of that and we just cleared everything up, got that, why are you so angry? The overwhelm, like, here's some tools to help. And yeah, like I said today, she said like she never would have been able to go as far as she has already if she didn't even just clear that one thing up, because how can we possibly grow when we can't even have a civilized conversation with our spouse, carrying all that anger and baggage around? And I will say she actually just got her face. She's on a billboard in New York City right now. Like, it's amazing. She's just done so well. And it's one of those, if you don't learn how to handle what life throws at you, eventually it's going to bog you down and it's going to bring everything down. So it's just so important. And even if you take that and leave that aside, that your whole business may come crashing down if you kind of don't get your stuff in order. But who wants to live with all that stress, that anxiety, that worry, the, physical ailments that come along with it? Even recently, our washing machine had broken down and my boyfriend was in Canada. I'm in Mexico. And I was just like, I felt the stress come in and I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, you know what? I'll figure it out. It's a top load and just FYI, in Mexico, all the washing machines are outside. Very weird, but it's how it's done. So I was like, I'll fill the tub with the garden hose. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I will just make this work. I will problem solve. And within 5 minutes, I actually had 4 different contingency plans. And I was like, all right, whatever. The washing machine's broken. Who cares? And I just carried on with my life and my day, and it didn't bother me. It didn't get me down. And I know if I would have still had that overwhelm, I would have, days, if not the whole week, I would have spent just invested in this problem and I would have complained to everybody and it would have just been like, the house caved in on me or something. So it's, yeah, which kind of life do you want to lead? Like, I feel like we all want to be happy and just enjoy and just deal with whatever and know it's going to be okay.
So like you kind of talked to before, in the world of social media, we have so many things happening all the time. We live in a very fast-paced world. So I'm sure like a lot of people come to you, probably tell you like they're really busy with their jobs, their families, their relationships, there's a lot of social media and everything else. So how do you help clients that are like telling you, oh, I'm so busy, I'm too busy, I can't do anything, really prioritize like their mental health and their self-care?
This part of that is actually, I would recommend that they have a schedule and they time block that schedule. And like literally, even if it's like, I am cleaning my house between 9 and 11 on Saturday, and you time block that. And then you follow that schedule with focused attention, which means whatever you're doing, you do only that thing in that time block until you're done it. Stop multitasking. The only thing multitasking does is have us, 8 things we tried to do, and we're lucky if we got one done, and we just feel really unaccomplished and poo at the end of the day. So have a schedule. Do not overfill it. In that schedule, you time block self-care. And this can even be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be, an hour or, a day at the spa. When I say self-care, it's literally caring about yourself. Scrolling on social media is not self-care. A good meditation, getting outside, maybe like me, I love playing with my plants or like taking just a quick walk in the park. It can be, I had one client who really loved doing jumping jacks. And it just invigorated them and brought them right back up. And I mean, that's not my idea of self-care, but it worked for them. So great. So they would take literally 2 minutes, do some jumping jacks, come back, and they were just like ready to crush the world. So it's about finding what works for you. And even honestly, like at lunchtime, choose a salad over fries and feel great about that. take the stairs instead of the elevator. All of these little micro self-cares, they really do add up. Also, that's where my checklist comes in, where you can actually, it's got self-care did you put self-care in your schedule? Yes or no? And making sure you get it. And the big thing about this, if you have enough self-care sprinkled throughout the day, you shouldn't feel exhausted and, really tired at the end of the day. I mean, barring if you're a construction worker or you do some like manual labor, you're going to be tired, at the end of the day. But if you're just doing your regular job every day, the usual work, then you shouldn't feel like just falling into your bed, dead exhausted at the end of the day. Similarly, if you get enough self-care through the week, you shouldn't just be like, dying Friday night and falling into bed and, even Sunday night, you're still not recovered from it. So yeah, I recommend having the schedule, time blocking, focused attention, stop multitasking, get the things done you mean to do and schedule it. And honestly, I do recommend scheduling in like time block your dinner time block family time, whatever it is that you want to do that day. In the beginning, like we're going to overcorrect a bit, time block everything. And then everything in there gets your focused attention. And that comes in really important. Like my one client, again, single mom building her business. I said, time block your kids. Just put it in the schedule, 7 to 10 p.m. and time block. And I said, and leave your phones in the other room. And she said it was literally the best night of her life. She had the dumbest conversations with her 10-year-old daughter. They ate popcorn. They watched a movie. She was passed out on the couch by 9 o'clock and she felt amazing because she time blocked it and gave it her whole attention. And she said her kids, like she really felt like she bonded with them again. So you can time block anything, get it in that schedule and focus attention. And you will be shocked when you stop multitasking and you actually focus on one task at a time, how much time you free up. We don't realize how much time we waste on Facebook. Oh, I'll just check the feed for 5 minutes, 45 minutes later. So that's where that schedule comes in. We don't put Facebook or Instagram in the schedule.
Hey, can you maybe walk us through what's it like having like a coaching session with you, and what can like a potential client expect if they decide to choose to work with you?
It really is personalized. Like first off the bat, I'm just going to ask you, what's your life like? What is going on? And then let's figure out, what do you feel is, your two biggest issues right now? What's going on in your life? And they kind of walk me through that. And then I get a sense of, all right, here's where we need to start. Sometimes it's exactly what they think it is. Sometimes it might be a little bit like different because again, we do tend to fool ourselves on a lot of things. But the typical session is basically we're always working through stuff. We're always digging into stuff. And I'm the sort of person, if anyone did want to work with me, I am not going to placate you or, say the niceties. If there's something you need to hear, I'm going to call you on it. If I think you're kind of, running circles or, fudging or in denial, I'm going to call you on that. Because unless we're being 100% open and honest, we're never going to get to the root of what's causing all this nonsense, which means we can't fix it, which means we can't get past it. And so we're just going to spin our tires. So I am politely blunt and I'm very honest. And my goal is literally just to improve your life and get you out of the overwhelm. It might sound a little weird, but my goal is for everyone to just not have my life literally, but wake up, like love life as much as I do. Wake up. Life is great. Every day's a good day. It doesn't matter, what kind of garbage is thrown at me. Every day's a good day. And I want that for everybody else because I really believe we can have it all. So yeah.
Fantastic. So, I mean, before you talked about like the importance of having a work-life balance. Can you maybe give our audience like one of the top 2 or 3 tips to have a healthier work-life balance? I'm sure a lot of people deal with that, especially people like, you see like these busy moms, you may be a mom, which is like a full-time job itself, and have a full-time job and try to have a life outside of that. It's a lot to jump. So what tips can you give to our audience to have like a
Well,
better balance?
yeah, I think number one is getting that self-care in there. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever, every person is different. So however much self-care you feel you need to get that in your schedule, like non-negotiable. If we are willing to charge our phones to keep them working properly, we need to, charge ourselves. You're not going to run your car on empty and fumes and throw some water in it and think it's going to run properly. And we're the same. So we need to refill our tanks. The other thing is really accepting we are not Wonder Woman. Like, we cannot literally do everything. I think one of the biggest issues is we have gone out there and, we have the careers and we work the 9 to 5s. We have all these things, which I think is amazing. But we did not really get rid of that persona of being the stay-at-home mom at the same time. So we work all day and then we come home and think we need to cook and clean and take care of the kids and do all the things. Now, some husbands are amazing at helping out and doing a lot of extras, but as women, we tend to think we still do the majority of the childcare, we do the majority of the cooking and cleaning, and now we're working full time just as much as the men. Like, just saying that, you're like, this is ridiculous. Obviously, you're going to burn out. Like, obviously, that's not, equal footing. Everybody has to chip in. So it's recognizing that we haven't really sloughed off those old mentalities of expectations that as women, we need to do all the things with the kids, the house, and that. And we need to start enlisting the husbands more. We need to enlist the kids too. I know there's this big movement on, I think it's TikTok, where parents are making their like 4-year-old kid go buy their own donuts or something and really teaching them these life skills and getting them out doing more. And that goes the same thing in the house. Like, one of my clients was just, again, getting super burnt out. She had 2 teenagers in the house that literally did nothing. They didn't do any chores. They didn't cook. They did nothing. And I'm like, cooking and cleaning are basic life skills. So recognizing this new age parenting of never having your child lift a finger doesn't teach them life skills. They're not going to leave the nest and be able to survive if they don't learn these things. So giving them chores is a way of just preparing them to live on their own, which like hopefully one day they will do, and acknowledging that we need to ask for help. And it's even little things of not just getting the family to help out more, but maybe you have a family member or a friend that's going to Costco and you're like, oh my God, Costco, I forgot. Can you grab me some milk and onions and I'll e-transfer you or whatever? And just getting friends help, maybe some neighbors or something. We've really, as a society, made help a 4-letter word and it's now shunned upon. But I don't know where this came from. Who decided that? I know my buddy Ray, he's from Tanzania in East Africa. And he said when the women there have babies, you don't get a say in it. Like, any female in your family and step family, they come invade your house for a month. They take care of your baby. They help you with the household work. They actually wrap your body to help get your body back in shape. And they help you with you and the baby. And they also help teach you what to do with the baby and how to run a household with more kids in the house. And it's literally this village family experience. And so it's funny how they've always done it like that. And it worked. The moms come out, they're back in shape. They've had all this help. Takes a village, right? And then here we are literally trying to do everything ourselves when our, bodies are out of whack, our hormones are out of whack, and like all of this stuff. But we become like too independent. So it's recognizing that that's not really a natural state. We are pack creatures, like human beings are pack animals, and we're supposed to be a part of a community. And in communities, it really is funny because even if I asked you, like if a friend came to you for help and needed something, I mean, obviously, wouldn't you help? Like,
Yeah.
of
I mean,
course.
that's what to me what a friends are really about. Like that, if I asked for a friend for help and they refused, I wouldn't consider them a friend anymore.
And I know for me, I get like a sense of almost like purpose and joy of helping someone. Oh, I can help someone. I feel really good when I help people. Probably also why I do this for a living, but then we're so afraid to ask for help. We're going to be this burden. But it's so funny, right? So it's getting rid of these expectations and just understanding there's only so many hours in the day. We literally can't do everything ourselves, and we're going to have to get out of the boxes and make some new rules, whether it's kids do chores, you actually send, carpool for the after school activities with the kids, get creative, find solutions, and just there's no shame, there's no judgment. And honestly, and if there's a parent out there that, judges you or shames you for not doing it all, like shame on them. Like that is brutal and you don't want them in your world anyways. But again, sorry, I get a bit long-winded. I get pretty
No,
passionate.
but that's what the podcast is all about, is sharing stories and and sharing your wisdom with the audience, because you learn so much over the years about how to deal with stress and overwhelm. And I think, as you said, it's such an important topic that a lot of people don't talk about it now. There's a lot of people struggling with overwhelm. They don't have the work-life balance, and a lot of people don't know what to do. And it's so nice to hear from someone like you that really figured it out. You say you're talking about from your own experiences. It's not like you're just telling people, "Oh, I read it in a book," or "I watched a YouTube video that that you have no personal connection with." The stuff works.
Yeah. And it's funny because I started ordering, there was an organic, I think it was literally called the organic box that I could order a lot of my fresh stuff in that would come once a week. My mom would started calling me like every time she went to Costco. I'm like, yep, here's my list, mom. Thank you so much. This is a help. And just getting rid of any sort of negative feeling I might have associated and like enlisting those little tidbits of help, I felt great. I had more energy. I was calmer. It's just like one less thing I had to do. And yeah, I feel like the more I delegated and I reached out, the better I felt because I just had a lot of weights lifted. And honestly, like my mom was so happy to help. She's a single lady, all her kids are grown. She just wants to be part of our lives. And if that means picking me up some milk, she's okay, great. I'm still helpful, still helping my babies. So yeah, it's funny how we don't think of those little things of how even us asking for help can actually help other people also.
What brings you the most amount of joy is being a coach.
It's really seeing those transformations in people when they realize, like one client, she realized that I asked her, "What do you want to do? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What drives you?" And she said nobody had ever asked her that before. And she said she just went to college, got married, had the kids, checking the boxes of life because she was supposed to. And she had actually, in just doing what she was supposed to, she had lost what she actually wanted to do. She's like, I actually don't know what I want to do with my life. And so obviously that was her homework. You need to sit and figure out, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy? What do you want to do with your life? And she's, I want to have a business. I want to work for myself. And I'm like, great. Now we know where we're going. And just seeing the joy in her eyes where she's, oh my God, I didn't even know I really do want this. Cause she felt it was like, if you have something like, there's a rock in your shoe, but you can't find it. And you're just like, oh God, like something is bothering me, but I can't get it. I can't find it. And that was kind of like the feeling you get when you're just like, something's not right. I'm missing something. I don't know what it is. And it's having that purpose in your life. And when we're just like going about the day because we're supposed to and going about spinning the wheels because we're supposed to, and nothing actually brings us joy or fulfills us, or it's not to get cheesy, but like our calling, our purpose in life. Yeah, you really have this almost void that you're kind of trying to fill, this weird, oh, it's not quite right. Or even just really having people empowering them, finding their confidence and realizing like, oh, I don't have to rely on other people. I can do that for myself. Yeah. Why did I stop believing in myself and just like working them through maybe a limiting belief that said they couldn't achieve their dream. And then all of a sudden now they can, and they're just like really inspired. And you kind of almost see them wake up inside. They kind of almost start again, it sounds cheesy, but it's like a little bit of a glow that comes out. And yeah.
So if somebody had a question about like our conversation today or they're interested in working with you and getting some help with their stress and anxiety or their life issues, what are the best ways to they can reach you?
And I am on, well, I am on X, but I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And that's Sonja LD on all the platforms. And so you can just message me on there, or I do have a link to just book a call and we can just chat, because it really is difficult to try and describe what's a session with you like. We're going to break down limiting beliefs. We're going to bust through something holding you back. But unless you experience it, it's so personalized. It's not, here's how we cut hair. There's an actual value, like tangible process. So I do encourage people to just jump on a call. They're always free. It's like a coffee chat. We can just talk about it. I can give you a quick like 15 or 30-minute session where you can have a little sample, a little taster, and see what we can really accomplish together. So yeah, book a call. You can reach out on any of those platforms and DM me. And I will also say, because I know Facebook has a lot of glitches every once in a while. So if I don't respond, it's because I haven't seen it or gotten it. I do not ignore people, because I know I did have a problem myself with messages not going through for a while. But if you message me, I will respond. If not, just jump on my actual page and, hey, I messaged you. And I'll be like, okay.
Sonia, do you have any, final message you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up our podcast for today?
Yeah, I think it's just really, really understanding that we don't have to live in overwhelm. You don't have stress, and anxiety is not normal. I would like to say, like, literally, I don't have anxiety anymore. I used to be completely ruled by it. Like, literally, if we're out for a nice dinner, I would just, it would pop in my head of the car accident we could get into and the house is on fire. And what if a meteor comes and hits the earth? Like, just the most outrageous things, because my anxiety was like so bad. And today I don't have anxiety. Really, I mean, aside from if people get like phobias or things like that are above and beyond, but everyday anxiety does not exist for me anymore. So it can be done. Stress, it's about, again, you feel it. What is this? Where is this coming from? Okay, can I fix this? Move into problem solving mode. Boom, life is great again. And just having that resilience that it doesn't matter what the problem is, you're going to find a solution, and you don't have to expend all of this emotional and mental energy freaking out over it. Life can be like that, where you can actually just look outside and smile because look, the birds. Ooh, the robins are back. Spring is here. And just enjoy all those tiny little things. Like, yeah, I know for some people, if you don't know me, but I've done it, so I know it can be done. So I just really want to emphasize that stress and anxiety are not normal, and you do not have to live with them if you choose not to.
Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with us all your experiences and all of your advice. Again, as I said before, it's a really important topic. I mean, stress really does kill people, and it doesn't kill you, it destroys people's lives, because I met a lot of people that are just not happy with their life. They hate their jobs, they're in relationships they're not fulfilling, they don't know what to do. But it's really great that we have people like you to kind of, show us like a path and being the bearer of light, there is a way towards joy and happiness. So thank you so much for sharing all of your messages today with our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It really is. I think the more people that hear it and understand it, like you said, it's pretty important. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.